Okay, so you have learned to find the circumference of a circle. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's try this again. I want to go back. Okay, you have learned how to find the circumference of a circle based on using this formula. So if you look at this circle, and I ask you to find the circumference based on the fact that this is 1 centimeter grid paper. That means that each one of these is a centimeter. That's a centimeter, and that's a centimeter, and that's a centimeter. Just like that's a centimeter, and that's a centimeter, and that's a centimeter. All these are 1 centimeter long. So this is 1 centimeter grid paper. That's what we would call this. Okay, so what would we have to know from this picture in order to get the circumference? Well, we know that pi is equal to, let me go a little thinner here. We know that pi is equal to about 3.14. That's what we use to estimate pi. And then we're going to multiply that by the diameter. Now, the diameter is not given to us, but we should be able to look at this and say, wait a second, I can see the diameter. If this is 1 centimeter grid paper, then this is 1 centimeter, and that's 2, and that's 3, and that's 4. So I should be able to put 4 in there for the diameter. So if I do 3.14 times 4, I get 12.56 centimeters as my circumference, okay? Now, if I ask you to estimate the area, what I'm asking you to do is, I'm actually going to take this diameter out just so we can see this a little bit better. If I ask you to estimate it by counting squares, this is what you would do. You'd go, okay, let's count whole squares first. There's 1, oops, I got to go back and get the yellow. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. These look almost whole. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then these little pieces, these 4 little pieces might make another one. So I'm going to estimate. I'm going to estimate my area equal to about 13 squares, or 13 square centimeters. And actually there's a formula for this, but I can look at this and I can tell that it's about 13, okay? Because I can look at how many squares there are. And the formula for this goes like this. Area equals pi times the radius to the second power. In this case, we're going to put in 3.14. And the radius here, well, that would be half the diameter. This is the radius from here to here, and that's 2 centimeters. So we do 3.14 times 2 to the second power. Now we have to do the 2 to the second power first, so we get 3.14 times 4, which the answer actually ends up looking the same as the one above. 12.56 is the number, but we're actually looking at centimeters squared. And the only reason why it worked out like this for this problem is because the radius times itself is the same thing as the diameter for this problem, but that is not always the case. Okay, so we're going to look at this next problem, and we're going to try this. Again, this is 1 centimeter grid paper, and we're going to find first the circumference. For circumference, we're going to put in 3.14 for pi. And now we have to find the diameter. Diameter is the distance from one side through the middle to the other side. And I'm choosing this particular diameter. I could have chosen any. I could have chosen one from here to here, but it's not as easy to read what the diameter is because it's cutting across all those squares. But if I do it this way, I can actually read it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can read that my diameter is 10. And then I can actually do this math in my head, because if I'm multiplying by 10, I'm just moving the decimal one place. So I get 31.4 centimeters, and that's how long the black line is that goes all the way around the outside of the circle. Now, if I ask you for the area, I'm looking for something completely different. I want to know how many squares are inside the circle. And I believe there are more than 31 squares inside the circle. So we could estimate it by counting. And we're sort of doing an approximation, but we can say this is, look at the squares located inside. Let's see. I'll do this. I'll do it in highlighter. Look at the squares located inside here. That should be easy to figure out, right? Because we can do regular area. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 6 times 8 is 48. So I can actually write that in there. That's 48. And then I can go through and count all the rest of these. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. Let's see, 65, 66, 67, 68. And then we can say these two, 69, these two, 70, those two, 71, those two, 72, these two, 73, these two, 74, this one and this one, 75, this one and this one, 76, and these two, 77. So I'm going to say the area is about 77 square inches. Okay, but I'm going to use the formula to figure out if it is about 77 square inches. Remember, these little parts of squares can kind of come together to make a whole square. Okay, so we're going to use 3.14 for pi. Oops, not 3.4. 3.14 times the radius. Well, the radius is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The radius is 5 centimeters. So we're going to multiply that by 5 to the second power. Now we have to actually do this 5 to the second power part first. Okay, and that's 25. 5 to the second power means 5 times 5. And I'm going to do 3.14 times 25. And I can do that math here. 3.14 times 25. Oops. And I get 2 decimal places. So the actual area is about 78.5 centimeters squared. Wow, my little estimate up here, right up here, this was my estimate. It's pretty good by drawing a picture and counting. But we're not always going to have a grid. Sometimes we're just going to have a circle. And sometimes the circle is going to have a diameter that is, I'm going to make this darker. Sometimes the circle is going to have a diameter that's in a decimal or going to be in a fraction. And so if I have my picture, let's see if I can now move this down. And let's say I know in this case that my radius is 4. I'll make this easy. I'll just say my radius is 4 meters. Okay, then I can find the circumference by doing pi times the diameter. Pi is 3.14. Let's see, this is the radius is 4. So what does the diameter have to be? Yeah, it has to be 8. So we're going to do 3.14 times 8. And I get 25.12 meters. That's for my circumference. Okay. Now we're going to do the area. And probably one of the toughest things here is going to be remembering the formulas. This is not pi times diameter, but pi times the radius squared. Radius squared does not mean the radius times 2, it means the radius times itself. So we're going to put 3.14 in for pi, and now we're going to do the radius, which is 4 to the second power. Now, our order of operations says, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we have to do that part first. And so I'm still going to have my 3.14, and then I'm going to be multiplying that by 4 to the second power, which is 16, okay? So my area is going to equal, let's do our math, 3.14 times 16. And I've got 2 decimal places, would be 50.24 square meters, or meters to the second power. So these are the 2 formulas you're going to be using. You might want to pause this video and write these 2 formulas down. Sorry. You want this one, circumference is pi times the diameter, and you want area, which is pi times the radius squared. Okay?